Greetings, salutations, one and all. Welcome to the Ultimate Hockey Show, your Monday ritual. I'm your host, Michael Gill, joined by a currently getting seated Rhett Petty. Good evening, Rhett. How are you?
Good, good. How about you?
Good, good. It's Thanksgiving here in Canada for those that don't know or those that are living under a rock. Hope everybody has one thing to be thankful for. Um, as we reflect on blessings and whatnot for the last year. And yeah, so we will be back here to talk about the National Hockey League and the Winnipeg Jets in particular. As I said last week, we are a show based out of Winnipeg, so we will be talking about the Winnipeg Jets uh, predominantly here
Yep.
throughout this show, but the National Hockey League as a whole. Just a reminder, Richie just found this out before the show. Monday Night Hockey moves to Prime Video Canada tonight. So it's starting with the Penguins and the Canadians. The first Jets game on Prime Videos in 2 weeks when the Leafs are here. All games exclusive to Prime Video. Get used to a whole lot more of that. I think Amazon didn't have a big piece of the pie in 2 years when the NHL comes to back to market for the rights.
Yep.
And guess what? We get the wonderful John Forsland calling the game tonight. He's the voice of Amazon Prime Hockey in Canada. So
Do we know
Amazon
John
went big.
Forslund? Does that
Amazon
name
went.
sound familiar?
Amazon went big with these announcers. That Amazon got Forsland, and they got a couple others, and they got what predominantly used to be NHL on the Fly and NHL Network. Now they're doing a Thursday whip around show hosted by Andy Petrillo from the beginning of the night to the end of the night, which is good. Had a chance to check that out last week. Pretty good, cool stuff coming in the streaming realm. But that being said, some pretty cool stuff as it relates to the Winnipeg Jets on. Rick, this is not a part of the outline, which I had tested you before this show.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention, and we can kind of tie this into the Jets, but I kind of wanted to take this as kind of wide. And I think when I put ranked Canadian teams 1 to 7, I also forgot to mention maybe we could talk later on about one thing that each Canadian team should be thankful for this time of year. So
Okay.
if you want to keep that in mind
Sure.
as we get to it, we'll get to that near the end of the show as well. 2 or 3 games have been played in the National Hockey League, unless you're the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres. They have more games played because they started out in Europe.
Yep.
So win for the Winnipeg Jets is the stat line this week. A 6-0 victory over the Oilers. Back-to-back 2-1 overtime wins. First one against Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. The latest one against Kirill Kaprizov and the Minnesota Wild. Jets goaltender Connor Hellebuyck, 3-0, a 0.66 goals against average and a 980 save percentage in the opening week of the season. Good enough to get him star of the week.
Well,
First
he
star of the
shared it.
week.
Shared it. Didn't he share it with one? I think the kid from Utah.
Yeah. That's what I was getting to. The first star this week is Dylan Dunter from Utah, who had a good start, and then I wasn't quite able to pick up who the third star was.
That was Jack Eichel.
Okay, yeah. So those are your 3 stars this week. Your
Yep.
thoughts on the Winnipeg Jets through 3 games? Go.
Well, it's. Would you say actually? You know what I heard or I read today, or maybe I heard that, or they predicted that, or were suggesting that at the last game before the game was that if the Jets won, um, the game last night, they would be 3-0 to start the season for the first time ever, which I didn't realize that out of all these years, they had never started 3-0 before. So
Yeah, they've never started 3-0 in the Winnipeg area. I don't know if it existed in Atlanta. Um,
right.
But my opinion is the first time since relocation that they were 3-0.
Yeah, yeah. They uh, okay. I'll say it like this. I'm very listen. If you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, you should be very happy that they are 3-0. Um, is it a mirage? Is it okay? It's still very early. 3 games in an 82 game schedule, so that's always you have to put that into perspective. But um, and they've played, excuse me, 2 of the 3 teams, even though they were played hard against or Chicago and excuse me, and last night against Minnesota, you have 2 of 3 wins against non-playoff teams last year. So you have to take that into perspective. But Winnipeg scored in the first 3 games, have scored 10 goals and only led in 2. So defensively, they've been pretty good. So overall, sorry, so something in my throat, very dry.
Yeah, it's okay.
They yeah, they right now, somebody was saying that, maybe I'll throw that out to you and see what you think. I was
Yep.
listening to one of the other podcasts, and they were saying teams that or sometimes teams that go long into the playoffs, or teams that have huge churn, even though it may be really good churn, like adding a lot of new players that are stars, like the Nashville Predators. If you add a lot of new star players that are going to play the predominant roles on your team, or you've got a team that is very like relies heavily on systems like on the penalty kill system and the power play system and the overall defensive, like those types of teams, they can sometimes have a hard time at the beginning of the season because it takes a while to get going. And the Jets, they are, they're not, they got some young players, but they're a middle to older team. They've played
Mm-hmm.
together for a long time. This core of guys have been together for 3, 4, 5 years. They played under Rick Bonus's system. Scott Arniel hasn't changed much. They've continued on. So I think in that way, maybe the Jets are at a huge advantage over other teams, either that have new head coaches this year or teams with a lot of player turnover in predominant roles, like a new netminder or a new first line center or a new 3 or 4 guys on the power play or whatever it is. It can sometimes take time. And so if you've got continuity from the year before, that's maybe a huge advantage at the beginning of the season as you work out all the kinks and bugs. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think the example behind your argument, no, it's not an
My
argument. That's
point.
not what it is. Behind your point
Yeah.
would be case in point the Nashville Predators. I mean, they brought in new forward, new defense. They're still trying to get used to each other, and they haven't looked too good. Now, are we writing the Nashville Predators off at 0-3 because they're 0-3? No, I don't think so. But case in point, the Winnipeg Jets do not have a lot of upheaval
Yeah.
in that regard.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough good things, and I think this is going to tie into what I'm thankful for the Winnipeg Jets, and that's Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton, and the third member of that line, who Niederreiter. Um, Boy, they are an absolute handful down low to handle. Um, I'm also thankful for, I guess, Mark Scheifele scoring timely goals. See
Yeah.
the Chicago game as an example. The second line for me this week, I thought was trying to find their footing. That Namaskov line with Ehlers and Perfetti.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the game after we had a get together yesterday, Red. Um, it felt like for the most part they were still trying to get their footing even yesterday. Um, and I thought we kind of saw something in the third period there yesterday where they were starting to come. But to me, it's been this bottom part of the lineup, Rick, that has been a real I guess positive. Everybody's talking about the Shifley line and how they've been together. It was the Edmonton game, the way that happened. The Lowry, Appleton, neither runner, then the Kapari, whoever's on the fourth line there. They had,
Iafallo and Barron.
yeah, and they had a couple goals in there, including Rasmus Kapari's first as a Jet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say this: I agree with you. Be happy it's 3-0, but long way to go. I thought see some strides from the penalty kill this year, and Rich, talked about it. I think it might have been on Friday when I saw you about the aggression of the penalty kill, showing up against the Oilers. I thought we saw more of that in the Chicago game. I thought we saw more of that last night, and again, to their credit, Rhett, they're not killing off 6 penalties a game, which helps. It's 2, 3, 3, in that type of area. So you're not stressing anybody out, by killing 7 or 8 penalties a night. By extension, you're getting timely power play goals, including the one that won it. Yesterday, you had another one in Edmonton. I believe that was also opposite of Kyle Connor. Connor now has 2 power play goals early in the season, or 3 power play goals. You didn't one in the Chicago game too?
That's what they said yesterday on the broadcast. He has 3 power play goals this year. So
So I might have had 2 against the Oilers then, because
yeah.
it certainly wasn't 2-goal game yesterday.
Yeah.
But no, I just think it's the Winnipeg Jets, and now that you think about this, Rich, and then you mentioned that it's not trying to reinvent the wheel with this group. But I think is pretty beneficial
Yeah.
to their to their coach camaraderie, but togetherness. And you know what? Now they get some time off. I think 3 wins. They know what they need to work on. They have today and probably tomorrow off, and then they'll get back to work for a game Friday against the Sharks and Sunday against the Penguins. And don't look now, Rick, but a real opportunity to string some wins together and start 5-0 and maybe stretch that into something more. Because Rick, you and I know the NHL is a very difficult league to win in. It's an even more difficult league to win in January onward, when teams are starting to refine their games for the playoffs and make their push for the playoffs, and the ice and other elements get smaller to work with, and you have a little less time and space. Bottom line is, I'm not complaining about a win in October, because it's one less that we need. In April, we're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yep.
And you know what? Hey, you take them where you can get them. Yes, you had a break. You got Chicago on the back end of a bat-to-bat. You got Minnesota on the back end of a bat-to-bat. You know what? Hey, it happens. You play the schedule in front of you. Jets are going to have that where they visit a team after playing the night before, and the
Yep.
Jets are going to be able to be taking advantage of it that way. So listen, I don't feel sorry for anybody in that regard. The schedule is what it is for everybody. Bottom
Exactly.
line, happy with 3 wins. Not gonna nitpick too much. Let's move on. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I see it the same way. I would like to touch though a little bit, like you sort of said, how did the Jets look? Like, what do you think? Well, I don't know. I agree with you. I think the power play has looked pretty good, even though they didn't score in the last game. I think it's better. I agree with you. The power play and the penalty killing has been designed to be better. It's designed to have more movement on the power play side. It's you and I talked about this last year when it was so frustrating to watch the Jets take a pass, look around, who's open, who can I pass it to? Okay, now I'll let everybody on the defensive side set up, and now I'll pass it over to my friend over on the other side. And it was too slow. It was too predictable, and they just decided. Actually, they brought in new coaches on the penalty kill and the power play. They said, we're going to move the puck quicker. We're going to move guys around. We're going to keep flowing. We're going to keep moving the puck. that's how you make the defenders move. So you create the openings for passes and for shots by making them move out of the box. Conversely, on the penalty kill, the Jets were too complacent playing that sort of, the square box and just kind of not sort of just playing all the outside shots or whatever and allowing teams to tee it up and set up. The teams that were really great on the penalty kill last year, you and I saw it. They were aggressive. They would put pressure on the puck and then have pressure on the outlets for that guy. So if you have the puck, we pressure you. You've only got one of two ways to go, right or left. And now we put pressure on right and the left so that if you try to squeeze the puck right or left, our guys are going to be right there to intercept the puck or to be on that guy that you're trying to pass it to, giving you no outs and forcing you to make a bad pass. Suck, we get it, and we fire it down the ice. That's what the good teams are doing. That's what the Jets are doing now, and that's why your penalty kill has been very good this year so far. I mean, it's a small sample size, but I think so far I'm very impressed and very happy about the changes that they've made so far that we can see. The one thing that still concerns me, and you hit on a little bit, is that second line. You're being very kind, Michael, and your assessment is always to be very.
It's 3 games in. That's why I'm not.
They have been non-existent. Cole Perfetti has been, and Namestnikov, and the only reason we even know about Ehlers is because he's on the power play. So you see him once in a while. But otherwise, when they're out there 5-on-5, they're non-existent. They don't control the puck. They don't get any in the zone time against the other team because they can't win puck battles because they're not big enough. They're not strong enough along the boards. They don't go to the front of the net. They get pushed around. They've been it's not going to work. Like, this is 3 games in. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. The Jets are going to do something. Whether they put on the Kapari on that line because he's bigger, or they try David Gustafsson up the middle on that line to play with those two guys. I think he's got some offensive ability, but Namestnikov is a great player, but he can't play with 2 other small little guys. Even though they're fleet of foot and they're sharp, they can make all sorts of passes. If you don't have one guy in your line winning puck battles along the board, going hard to the front of the net, winning those things, you are going to be an ineffective line. Never mind in the playoffs, even in the regular season, but in the playoffs will be non-existent. And that line is too small. It's too, and the team overall is too small. It needs more. You want to call it size, sandpaper, grit. I don't know what it is. Maybe Logan Stanley coming in will be a good thing. We'll add some size in the back end and a little bit of irritation, a little bit of meanness to play against in the front of the net. But right now, the Jets, other than Adam Lowry, who else on that team plays with any sort of sandpaper grit? Put an elbow in somebody's schnoz as you're going to the front of the net and trying to win a puck battle. I mean, there are some good players there, but to have your second line be 3 small little guys, I don't know that that's a good solution. But that's my opinion. I haven't seen anything to argue against me yet. But like you say, maybe it's 3 games in, and maybe now the next 7 games after this one, after the one we just saw, they're lights out, and that line of Namestnikov, Ehlers, and Perfetti scores a couple of goals a game. And then my point is moot. I'm willing to concede, and I'll concede it here on air. But right now, they have been inconsequential 5-on-5 in the first 3 games. All the offense has come from either the power play or the other 3 lines. So,
and that's why I'm wondering if what's going on is. That's why I'm wondering if what's going on is actually sustainable.
Well, I don't think it is. I just don't know how you can.
Because here's the thing: other teams go, okay, we'll cut off this perceived third line. Say good luck with that. We'll have a second line go up against the Scheifele line. Good luck with that. And then where do the goals come from?
Right. Like, if the Scheifele line is held in check by a very good team that puts like an Adam Lowry line on them and completely shuts them down and makes them ineffective, where do the Jets get scoring from? Well, potentially a little bit from the Kapari line, from the Lowry line, and from the power play. And you maybe when you have Hellebuck in net and he's lights out, you only need to score maybe 2 or 3 goals a game to win. The Jets have only needed to score 1 goal in the first game and a pair in each of the last 2 in order to win, right?
Yeah.
But
well, it's interesting because the bottom line is it seems to be back to that defensive structure from last year, where they had 30 something games in a row with 3 goals, 3 goals or less.
yeah,
But again, you can't complain about the team defensively, and it starts with the goaltender. I have not had much to complain about in general through 3 games. There are certain other teams, and we'll get into this in just a second,
okay.
where I do have complaints at 0-3, and it's not getting any better. There are also 3-0 teams that I view like the Jets that I was just having a really good week and are due for some tough times. And there are also some teams that are 0-3 that I think are going to turn it around and play hockey to their expectation type of thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. It's most teams have, well, I don't think, yeah, there's only been a few teams that have played 4 games or 5 games. Most have played 3, 2 or 3.
3, and then today, I don't even know. But I don't know if you saw any of that game. I don't even know what that schmozzle was in Ottawa with the Senators winning over the
Oh,
Kings 8-7.
like that's like shinny hockey. Like it's the first one up to 10 wins. Like it was, no,
Yeah.
where's the defense? Where's the goaltending? It's just,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And you know what? But you know what that tells me, Michael? That tells me that, you know what? I just think if the Jets are going to play that type of game, then it's a crapshoot, right? Like then when you play those games against Ottawa, you could win a game 8-6, or you could lose a game 6-4, right? I get, like, that's what you think. But if Jets play the way they played against Edmonton and then against Chicago, against Minnesota, if they play that way, like 9 out of 10 nights, and they play that way consistently, even against teams like Ottawa, the run and gun teams or whatever, you know what? Ottawa will not be able to score 8 goals against the Jets if the Jets play the right way. Because you see how it is. You see how it is with Edmonton. Like you see how it was with Chicago and Bedard. They made it so they just got the puck out quick. Hellebuck made a save, covered it up, get the puck out quick. They support the defense. Like it's very hard to score 8 goals against the team that is constantly moving the puck out of their end. And if they do happen to get a shot on net, the goalie stops it, cradles it, have a face-off, you win the face-off, puck goes out. Like I'm just saying, you can't score 8 goals against a team like that. But if you're porous on defense and your goaltending is not good and you don't play a good sound system, you don't support your forwards, or your forwards are not supporting your defense and trying to get the puck out, then you've got 8-7 shootouts like they had in, was that in Ottawa or is that
in Ottawa?
Yeah. I mean, it's entertaining for the fans, but can you imagine if you're a Center fan, they go up 3-0, yeah, and then the other team comes back and makes it 3-3, then you go up 4-3, yay, then you're down 5-4, then like it's just a roller coaster. It's just up and down. Like it's exciting, but it's crazy.
Fans love it. Coaches get gray hair and lose their minds,
and they lose their jobs because of it too.
Well, to be honest, you couldn't be mistaken if the teams had a little bit too much turkey last night, and it honestly reminds me of one of those few games before Christmas there where everybody's ready to pack it in and doesn't quite want to, pay attention to detail, that sort of thing. But again, I think that they desperately needed a win for Ottawa. We'll get to them in just a minute. LA, to me, there's the same problems where they're Dudley had. LA did not fix the one issue to me that ailed them, and that's why they were very far in the playoffs, hence my predictions.
And what is it that they have not fixed?
Goaltending.
Yeah.
They have a world-class team up front with young guys, speed, defense, and no doubty for, three-quarters of the year here because he got injured in the preseason. But all of my teams that made the playoffs in my sort of Michael's preseason predictions have one thing in common, and that's decent, average to decent goaltending
Okay.
to be considered. So,
Yeah.
but not to stray too far away. What do you think about the next couple of days here for the Jets to have this break before playing the Sharks on Friday and the Penguins on Sunday, and all of a sudden the Rutger McGorty return to Winnipeg is on the hopper this weekend coming up.
Yeah, I'm actually going to that game, so that'll be it. I will be booing every time his stick touches the puck. No, I'm sure that's what'll happen. Fans will be giving it to him, like saying, "Jaeger's better.
Yeah,
Jaeger's better."
Yep.
So,
No, I agree. And then it used to be they had a chant for Crosby too when he first came to Winnipeg. The memories escape me. There was some epic chants. I think it was Mario's Cooler or something like that. But
yeah,
now Rutger McGorty becomes public enemy
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah. No, there have been some good some good chants. And one of them was, I remember once that the Jets played, I think it was the Minnesota Wild back, maybe that was 2018. Yeah, when they went to the cup, I think they played Minnesota in the first round. They won against them, and back then Eric Stahl was playing for Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
and they would go, "Jordan's better."
Oh, I know.
And what was funny was after the second, they did it for the first game and then the second game at home, and then they asked him about it, and then he said, normally we don't hear stuff like you're so focused on the game, you don't hear what he says, but he says in Winnipeg, the way that arenas, you hear it. And then he said, and I didn't hear it right away, but then one of the equipment guys or somebody tapped me on the shoulder and kind of went like this, and he said, and actually he says, I hate to admit this, but it was really good and actually made me smile and it made me laugh. So he even admitted it was pretty good.
And just on the chanting real quick, I don't want to spend too much time, but another epic one was, it would have been 2011, the first or second year the Jets came back. Can't quite remember. Ryan Miller came in with the Buffalo Sabres, and he would handle the puck in behind the net, and the crowd would chant silver medal in honor of 2010 in the Winter Olympics.
Right.
That was pretty good, pretty fit in the moment kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Last thing, coolest Jets game I ever went to was in the first year. But the Jets came back. They had Timo Solani playing for the Anaheim Ducks. And just the night that Timo came back and everybody didn't boo but touch the puck for Anaheim, and Timo would touch the puck and everybody would cheer. And I don't know. It's pretty. I didn't Winnipeg Jet game in the early years, in the first, I'll say pre-COVID, were pretty entertaining when the novelty was kind of new and preseason games were loud and full and you couldn't hear yourself. But now it's business-like. The honeymoon's over, so to say, and a pretty good start to be 3-0 for the Jets, and we'll see what happens on Friday. Rich, I just want to touch quickly on a couple of other things before we talk about the Winnipeg Jets further, and that is, let's talk about Alberta. You have some contrasting situations. Southern Alberta has the Calgary Flames, who are 3-0, and Northern Alberta has the Oilers, who are 0-3, having scored 3 goals in their first 3 games, and quite honestly have not looked very good in doing so. The latest one was a 4-1 loss to the Calgary Flames yesterday. I had the privilege of watching this game a little bit when it looked like Edmonton was going to go up 2-0. They had a goal washed out because of an offside challenge. Game remained 1-0. Calgary scored 3 goals in the third period to win 4-1, including the kid playing in his first NHL game for the Flames, did in his first goal to ice off proceedings at Rogers Place in Edmonton. Are we in this same movie with the Edmonton Oilers of, okay, 3-9, 3 and whatever they were, and eventually they're going to turn this corner? But I had somebody tell me this looks different. Where do you sit?
Okay, I'd be interested in knowing why people see it a little bit differently. It's interesting you say that, Michael, because they are, they went to the Stanley Cup final last year, and you can always have a little bit of, like they call it, the Stanley Cup hangover, or the playoff hangover, right? You go that hard and that long, into June. You don't have much time off, maybe just 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and then you're going right back into training camp again. So you don't have a lot of time off. Maybe it's not enough time for your body to heal, for your mind to heal, your emotions, your mental health state, whatever it is as a player. So it could be all those things. But I agree with you. Like there's parts of me that say, no, this is just an aberration, because they are a team with still, you could argue, the 2 best players in the world right now,
Right,
in McDavid and Draisaitl, plus a lot of good parts around them that complement them. But then there's another part of me that says the reason that they came on last year in the second half of the season or whatever, after the coaching change and then into the playoffs, is because McDavid just came alive, and they finally fixed their goaltending problem by going to Stuart Skinner and going away from Jack Campbell after signing him to
right.
that big free agent contract. And Stuart Skinner played up to it right through the playoffs, up to the point after the playoffs were over. They're talking about, with the Olympics coming up and everything else, Stuart Skinner is right at the top of the list for the goalies to be considered for Team Canada, right along with Aiden Hill at the top. Well, 3 games into the season, Stuart Skinner hasn't looked great. So,
Right.
and I think another thing that's changed is this team, it's very similar on the top 6 forwards and the top 2 or 3 defensemen, but they lost Cody Ceci, who played very well with Darnell Nurse, who played with who played with the Bouchard all the time. Was that Descharnais?
Yeah, they also lost Broberg as well.
Robert, and then they lost. No, who's the defenseman that they lost? Brobert and
Desharnais.
To St. Louis. They lost Brobert and another guy. Somebody's gonna know.
That was a forward that went to St. Louis.
No, a forward and a defenseman. They lost 2 players.
Yeah. They lost what's his name?
A defenseman, a good second.
Broberg.
No, Brobert and another guy. Sorry, but they lost 2 guys that were signed as RFAs, and Edmonton decided not to match, and they lost. So they lost some really key parts. Like, all that to say, I mean, they lost key parts, not on the top. Maybe CC, you could say, because he played with Darnell Nurse, although they weren't the top pairing. It was
Bouchard. Okay, Red. Sorry, it's Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway.
Thank you, Broberg. So Broberg was the one playing with Bouchard, maybe, but I'm not sure. But anyway, so they lost 2 out of your top 4 defensemen, and you lose a couple of guys on your bottom 3 or your bottom 6 forward who killed penalties and whatever else. And then they lost they lost some really key players that were sort of those complementary players, and maybe just trying to figure out how to go forward. That's a lot of churn, especially on the defense. And so I don't know, maybe there's a part of me that says, Edmonton's going to figure it out because you have those superstar players, and then you've got Hyman there, and you've got Arvidsson now playing there with either McDavid or with the Draisaitl that, oh, it's going to be okay. But then there's a part of me that says, nah, maybe it's not going to be as good as it was last year. And they don't have a chance to turn it around because they don't have the makeup of the same guys that they had last year to be able to come out of that hole. So I don't know. It's a really good question. How do you see it? And what did this individual share with you that they think that they can't come out of this?
Were you and I talking to the same person?
No, that's why I'm asking. I don't know who this is. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
You just nailed exactly why they told me this looks different.
Oh, okay.
And that's exactly what they told me. Not in those exact words, but the conceptual idea.
Okay.
They were also concerned about they couldn't. Edmonton has a very good run of health when it comes to McDavid and Draisaitl. And if they lose any of them for any period of time, that changes the forward configuration because right now, if you're down a goal or need a couple goals, you can put them both on the same line and you can inject terror into your opponent, so to say. Right now, they're playing separately on two different lines to balance it out a little bit. This person also wasn't sold on Stuart Skinner as the goaltender.
Yeah.
And also reminded me too that the Oilers in the playoffs were buoyed by a pretty good penalty kill. I think they killed something like 42 in a row off in the playoffs. Excuse me, which helps, but this person just wondered about the ability to replicate a lot of that.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's a good point. Look at you've got who are the teams that are at the bottom of the Central and the Pacific. Those are two teams that were in the in either the top 4 or the top 8 last year in the playoffs. Edmonton is at
Colorado.
0-3. They have had 15 goals against in 3 games. Stuart Skinner's not looked good. Their goaltending is not good. And Colorado, they've had to bring up they claimed a goalie, our goalie, off the minors. They claimed Kakinen, is it, off the, or on waivers because Gorgiev and then the other one have just been like soup ladles with holes in them, just letting goals in. They've let in 14 goals in 2 games, Colorado. Like that is not good. And those are 2 superstar teams. Well, you know what? And it really shows you can be an average team and look great by having a great goalie. But if you're a great team with superstars and you don't have even average goaltending, you're not going to win games. And you just see it. Colorado, Nashville, Edmonton. Who else is at the bottom here? Carolina. Their goaltending is not been. The Sabres have just been porous on defense, the goals against. Even the Bruins that have not been good in 4 games, they've let in 15 goals, 4 goals against.
A large portion of that, Vito, was the first game where they went to Florida and gave up 8.
You're right. And that wasn't Swayman. That was
the backup there.
That's Korpisalo that came from Ottawa, right? Yeah. But anyway, it just shows you, again, my point. You can be a superstar team, but if you do not have even average goaltending, you're going to struggle to win. Whereas look at the Jets. I don't think they're a superstar team. They've got some good players. They play a good structure, but they win or lose according to Hellebuck. If Hellebuck is a Vezina Trophy goalie, they make the playoffs. What happens in the playoffs? Well, that remains to be seen because the last 2 years it hasn't been good. But
no, and I also think too the same thing could be said about the Flames. You know, they don't have any star players. They have decent goaltending in Dan Vladar and Dustin Wolf. They're playing as a 12 unit of forwards and a 6 unit of D, and both goaltenders have a win. No, I just think there's a lot. And again, I don't want to do this overreaction versus actuality, but we're doing with facts on a week of hockey here. Like, it's not going to be a straight unilateral straight line toward 82 games. It's going to be up and down and up and down. But there are warning signs out there for certain teams as well. Just wanted to bring your attention to one team right before we talked about playoffs and pits and all that. That was the Philadelphia Flyers. I watched their game against the Calgary Flames on Sunday, and I do not have the Flyers as a playoff team right now. Because I think they're in that they haven't fully committed to a rebuild versus a retool kind of scenario, but they have that Russian goalie, that Fudotov, who played pretty well, and then that rookie that got his first NHL point, Matley Mishkov. Pretty good hockey players
Yep.
for both of them. I want to see the Flyers be able to take a step forward with those two guys, and Mishkov is a star player. I think he'll be in the running for a Calder by the end of the year, assuming he stays healthy and whatnot.
Yeah. They
The
have a
more I watch, the Flyers, the more I am impressed by their general manager, Danny Briere, just slowly tearing this thing down and now slowly building it back up.
Yep. Philadelphia's like it's like one of those teams. It's like how the Oilers did for years. They drafted because they were so lousy. They drafted high in every round, and for every they got Nail Yakupov one year. They didn't do it well. Then they would get a Nugent Hopkins or a Draisaitl or a McDavid. So eventually, if you're lousy for a long enough time and you make good picks, you're going to be a good team. And I think Philadelphia is one of those teams. Like they've been not so good for a long time, and they've drafted well. And I agree with you. I think they're one of the teams that's got a lot of young talent, and they're just on the move. Whether they're going to make it, sort of like Ottawa, are they going to take that next step this year?
Yeah.
The Sabres, same way. Are going to take that step or not? I'm hoping they do, but I'm not sure. But interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because I hate to describe this, but the Flyers have been in the mushy middle for the longest time. But I would think of that group that you just mentioned, like the Ottawa, the Philly, the Buffalo, I see more upside in the Philadelphia Flyers than those other two teams. Buffalo, I just don't know what their end game is. We're allowed to believe that yes, they're going to take the next step. They need to take the next step. But it seems to be the same old situation. It doesn't matter who the coach is, doesn't matter who seems to be in and around the lineup. It's just it's a toxic is the wrong word. It's a culture where losing has become normal and acceptable. And until you break that trend, it's going to be a lot of the same. And that's my worry with the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been in the playoffs in 11 or 12 years. So it just seems to be a lot of the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. I'm still, but I know I picked the Sabres last year to make the playoffs and they didn't. And I'm like, I was burned once last year. I know we're going to make picks very soon here, but
Yep.
I'm
Let's
so
do
close.
it right now so we have enough time.
I'm right on the cusp with the Sabres because I'm the same way. It's like, when are they going to push one of those old dogs out of the way and go on their way? And they haven't proven it yet. We keep asking them to prove it, but it's tough. But again, with the Sabres, what's their goaltending like? They got lots of good young players there. Their goaltending is Then you look at Tampa Bay, they're old. They got a lot of old players, a lot of experience, but they got Vasilevsky. You got Vasilevsky, you've always got a chance to win a game. Just like Bobrovsky, just like Hellebuck. There's just like with Markstrom now in New Jersey. You get a goalie like that, you're in every game. You can start the game knowing that even if you don't have your A game that night as a team, your goalie, if he has his A game, can help you win. And that's why I'm always, I'm in on the Sabres, but then I don't know if I want to go in all in. So it's because their net minding is so. But anyway,
Anyway, let's make our picks quickly because I
okay,
want to get to the Thanksgiving for all 7 teams if we have enough time
okay,
to come around to it.
you bet.
All right, and we'll do this one conference at a time, one division at a time.
Okay,
Okay? So the way this is going to work is we'll talk about a division. How many teams are in from that division? That includes wild card in our preseason picks.
yeah, okay,
So let's start with the Atlantic Division. The Atlantic Division, for those that are not familiar, Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Tampa, Detroit, Ottawa, Florida, and Buffalo. Who makes the playoffs from the Atlantic Division? How many teams get in? And who are they? 5 teams?
that's what I think. I think in terms of what it's going to look like, I think it's going to be for the first time in a long time. I think the Leafs are going to end up in first place. And that's due to a new head coach and who's going to force them to play the right way on more nights than not. And so
Yep.
I like in this division Toronto, Florida, and Tampa Bay, and the 2 wild cards that come both out of the Atlantic are the Ottawa Senators and the Boston Bruins. So I really believe this year with what the Senators have done, and for me, you know what the big tipping point is? We keep talking about goaltending. Linus
Yeah.
Ullmark. That is that. Now they've got somebody. They had Carpasolo last year. You know, he's a good goalie, but Linus Ullmark, he like, did he not win the Vezina? I think he did. Right?
Yeah.
Ullmark won the Vezina a few years ago, didn't he?
Yep. And then they won the Jennings, him and Swayman 2 years
Right.
ago.
So I'm just saying, with Linus Ullmark now being there in Ottawa, plus they brought in some veterans to go along with Giroux to help along with that young team. They have a ton of talent. I think they're going to score a ton of goals. The only thing may be their defense. Like maybe they're going to have to win a lot of games 8-5 or 7-3 or whatever. But I really like Ottawa this year. And the huge thing that for me moves them into the playoffs is their new goaltender. How about for you? Who do you like out of the Atlantic and how many teams?
Yeah, I'm with you. I have 5 teams making it out of this division.
Okay.
In
Wait,
no
in what
particular.
order?
Sorry?
In what order?
I got the Leafs finishing first, Tampa finishing second, Florida finishing third. My wild cards are Tampa Bay and Detroit.
You just said Tampa Bay was in second.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah. Sorry, I'm
You
still
said
with
Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida. How many teams do you got?
Yeah, sorry. Toronto, Tampa, Florida. My wild cards are the Detroit Red Wings and
interesting.
the Boston Bruins did it on the last day of the season.
Okay, so
I just can't. I was wrestling with this division all day long, Rhett, because personally, Boston, Ottawa, this comes down to for me, and Buffalo, and I like Boston's goaltending over Buffalo's goaltending at this point, and I like Ottawa's goaltending over Buffalo's goaltending at this point. And I know we just spent a long sort of discussion about, goaltenders getting their teams into the playoffs, and it's going to ring true in this division. And it's also a big part of the reason why I only have 3 teams coming out of the Metro right now. And if you want to move over to the Metro, Rick, I'll give you my playoff teams from a Metro. Okay. I have the New Jersey Devils, New York Rangers, and New York Islanders making the playoffs.
Okay, so sorry. New Jersey in first place, then who?
Yep.
And then who?
New Jersey outlasting the Rangers.
Okay.
And then in third place will be the New York Islanders.
So Carolina does not make the playoffs this year.
No, I think they lost too much.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay.
And knowing Lane Lambert and the New York Islanders, they defensively find their way into the playoffs.
Okay. Very nicely
And
done. Okay.
it'll lead to big questions in Carolina this offseason.
Okay.
How about you?
I like, again, like you, three teams, but for me in this order, the Rangers, then the Devils, and then the Hurricanes. So New York Rangers, New Jersey Devils, and then Carolina Hurricanes.
If I could ask the question, what don't you like about the Islanders?
I don't think that they have enough consistent scoring outside of Matt Barzal and Anders Lee, because I found last year when Barzal got injured, that team just went really quiet. Like they just could not score enough when they didn't have him in the lineup. Now, I guess you could say that for any team, right? If you took McKinnon out of the Avalanche, or you took McDavid out of Edmonton, or you took right now for the Jets, if you took Scheifele out of the Jets, what would that look like, right? Yeah, okay. Yep. But I'm just saying, I just think in general, I just don't like the ability, or I'm concerned about their ability to generate enough offense to score goals if one of those guys, either Anders Lee or Matt Barzal, gets injured. So that's my concern.
Okay, let's go out west. You want to give me your we'll save the Central for last. Give me your Pacific playoff teams.
Okay. And you're going to laugh, but no, you don't have to. No, it's okay. So we're going to do colors. So I'm going to do in the Pacific in this order: Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Edmonton, and then wild card number 2 is going to be Vancouver. I think Vancouver is going to have a tough time. I think without Thatcher Demko there right out of the gate, and I think he's going to have health problems all year. I just think they're really going to struggle as a team. So
sorry, can you give me that list again?
Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Edmonton, and then wild card number 2 is going to be Vancouver, because wild card number 1 is going to come from the Central.
Yep, fair enough.
What do you
have
like?
it much the same. Vegas. Vegas. Sorry, hang on. Vegas. I'm going Vegas, Vancouver, Edmonton. Wild card, both coming out of the Central.
Okay, so Las Vegas, Vancouver, Edmonton. That's your.
Yep.
Okay, and then who do you like in the Central then? Your 5.
My 5 in no particular.
No, in a particular
1 through 5.
Nice try. 1 through 5. Thank you very much. Yeah.
The Dallas Stars, number 1.
Yeah.
Colorado Avalanche, number 2. Nashville Predators, number 3. Your wild card teams, the Utah Hockey Club and the Winnipeg Jets.
So the Jets are going to be wild card number 2.
Yep. They'll get in on the last day of the season.
Oh my gosh. You have no confidence at all. You're just.
I don't.
I'm sorry. Okay. And for me, somewhat similar. It's the same teams except for Utah I don't have picked. But I have the Stars in first place, Colorado in second, Winnipeg in third place, and Nashville as wild card number 1 coming out of the Central. So in a lot of ways, it's the same teams we're picking. We're not really seeing this huge, we're not really buying into Calgary. I'm not buying into Utah. So
I am. I have them as a wild card, but that's only because of the novelty, and I think they did a couple more wins on home ice with ownership stability. So you have the Jets in, I have the Jets in as a wild card. That'll be interesting.
Yep.
So now let's go to the conference final and cup champs very quick.
You want to do that already? I wasn't going to. I wasn't prepared
Yep.
to do that, but okay. Wow, I really don't like doing that, Michael. It's so early. That's
Come out of your comfort zone, man.
no, I don't want to. So you want sort of the conference champs, and then who makes it to the Stanley Cup final? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Oh,
You could even go conference final, conference champ, Stanley Cup. You want mine first?
no, it's okay. You asked me. I'm gonna go out of the Central. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Dallas. And out of the Pacific, I'm gonna go Las Vegas. Because I think Aiden Hill is gonna have a bounce back year, and I think it's gonna be very important to Vegas's. I mean, they have a good team, but besides that, and in the Metro, yeah, we said goodbye to the Washington Capitals. They're just like
Yep. Yeah, I'm there too. They're too old. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm going with the New York Rangers, and I'm going. See, I'm picking all the first place teams. I really believe this is the year Toronto. I hate doing that because I don't like Toronto, as you know.
Are you looking at my paper?
Nope. So I got Toronto, New York Rangers, Dallas, and Las Vegas. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm the same way for those four.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. No
and
argument.
then who makes it to the Stanley Cup final?
Who makes it to the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah.
And I'll put who makes it to the Stanley Cup final and who wins the Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
Sheldon Keefe goes to his first Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
And who's he going to beat? Who's he going to beat? I think now I'm thinking about we might have a different Final Four. I have the Devils upending the Rangers. So we might have a different Final Four actually now that I think about it.
Okay.
The Devils upend Rangers in that division final, if you will. They're going to take on an Eastern Conference champ with Sheldon's old friend, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, so
and the
Toronto
Leafs will lose to
New Jersey. Or
my East final, New Jersey, Toronto. Jersey wins and sits.
No, but Toronto. Okay, New Jersey and Toronto is just on the one division or one conference. Now you have to pick the other conference.
Yep.
Who wins between? So you're saying between Toronto and New Jersey, and then who's the other four or other two teams?
My Pacific is the Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, sorry, no. My Pacific is the Edmonton Oilers. Hold on.
Don't you have
I'm guessing myself. The Edmonton was losing to the Vegas Golden Knights. The Knights going to the conference final.
Against
the Knights will lose to the Dallas Stars.
Okay, so in the final, it is going to be Dallas against Toronto.
Correct. Yep. No, Dallas, New Jersey.
Oh, because New Jersey wins against Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay, and then New Jersey versus Dallas. Okay, and then who wins the Stanley Cup?
The Cup final. After multiple attempts at trying to win the Stanley Cup, the Dallas Stars finally push it over the finish line.
Interesting. I picked Dallas as well.
And upend a young New Jersey Devils team in 5 games.
Yep. I picked Dallas as well. So isn't that interesting? Although I picked them to beat the Leafs.
You have the Leafs going to the Stanley Cup final?
Yep. So that's what I had. So I had a Toronto against New York. Yeah, I had Toronto against New York. And then Dallas against Las Vegas, and then Dallas and Toronto make it through, and then the Stars beat Toronto, which makes me still happy by the end of the year. So I'll still have a wonderful June.
A certain co-host of yours won't know what to do with himself if the Leafs make the Cup final.
I know.
But no, listen, Rhett, I just think Craig Berube is going to have that Leafs team playing playoff hockey all year and is going to pay
Yeah,
dividends in the playoffs.
I agree with you. I just think he is going to be a huge, like, and I guess Sheldon Keefe. I don't think it's Sheldon Keefe, but like with Paul Maurice, your message to players after a while, it just, you get a new coach in, everybody from the superstar right down to the third or fourth line mucker, the 18th or 20th guy on your team. When you have a new coach, you've got a new slate, everything is clean. You can come and you got to earn your way and you got to impress them. And I just think there's going to be this onus on players to play the right way in Toronto. And I just think they're going to be a much better team, and they're going to get really good goaltending from Wool all throughout the year. So,
And they've shown they have a third goaltender too sorry?
no, I was going to say Wool, and then I think their starter is going to be Stolarz, right?
Stolarz. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even put it against the Leafs to go to the goalie at the deadline.
Could be, but I think he's kind of gotten past his injuries. He played really good the other night. I think he's going to have a real bounce back year. He's going to be I think the Leafs have found their guy in Stolarz. So,
And honestly, sometimes I think you need a different voice to push that team over the edge. But anyway, Rhett, we didn't have enough time to quickly talk about one thing that we're thankful for each of the 7 Canadian teams. I think we kind of addressed it already. Just to recap for me quickly, the Winnipeg Jets thankful for Connor Hellebuck and defensive structure. Edmonton Oilers thankful for Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Calgary grateful for youth movement and a sense of direction.
yep.
The Vancouver Canucks, what's old and new again. Consistency runs the day and gets them into the playoffs. Maybe they'll be thankful or be asking Santa for help for Thatcher Demko.
Yep.
In Ottawa, Linus Ullmark and more consistency. In Montreal, youth movement gets them to the cusp of the playoffs, doesn't get them in the playoffs. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, for the first time in a long time, playoff success, however, falls short.
Okay.
That is.
So you want to hear my thankful list?
Sure. Yeah. Rattle them off.
Okay, really quick. Ottawa, they're thankful for a number one goaltender. I mean, I said it earlier, Linus Ullmark. So I think he's going to make a huge difference to that team. Montreal is thankful for another year of getting older and getting more seasonedness, more seasoning in their young superstars and players. And adding players like Patrick Laine and some of the other guys they added is only going to help that team. So I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs this year, but they're a team on the rise. So they're thankful for another year of seasoning. Toronto, they're thankful for a new head coach and a new outlook on life in Toronto and a new chance at a new slate. What's that?
If I might add, they're coach that has playoff pedigree and knows what it takes to win in the playoffs.
Correct. So what is that? Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto. Okay, so now we have to go west, right?
Yep.
I'll start far west, and come back. Vancouver, they are thankful that, I would say they're thankful they have JT Miller under contract, because as great as Pettersson is and as great as some of the other players are, that team goes nowhere without JT Miller. He is the heart and soul of that team. And if they make the playoffs, it's going to be because of him, not because of Quinn Hughes, not because of Pettersson or anybody else. It's going to be because JT Miller has a monster season. So they're thankful for JT Miller. Calgary is thankful that they could start the season with almost no expectations from anybody at TSN or Sportsnet, even their own fans. I think that team is saying, you know what? We have who we have, and we're going to play, and we're going to play hard, and there's no expectation on us. And you know what? If they end up making the playoffs, good on them. They're going to surprise everybody. But there's nothing better than playing with house money if you're a gambler. Not that I'm a gambler. And in this case, there's nothing better than playing without expectations. So they're thankful for no expectations and an open chance to do whatever they do this year. Edmonton, that's going to be hard. What are they thankful for?
I have one.
Okay.
Thankful for the memories. They're not getting back to the Stanley Cup final.
Okay. Yeah, they could be thankful for memories. Okay, that's good. So you're trying to be positive. I like that. I was trying to think of something they can be thankful for right now. I guess maybe they're thankful that they signed Leon Draisaitl to a long-term deal, that he'll be an Edmonton Oiler for life. That's maybe they can do that. Now they just have to hope for the same thing for Connor McDavid if they can do it. And then for the Winnipeg Jets, I think the Winnipeg Jets are thankful that I think a lot of people are going to take the Jets for granted. I think they're going to think the Jets can't do it. The Jets didn't make any big splashy free agent moves. The Jets didn't make any big trades. They're just going on with what they're going on. And so similar to Calgary, I think they have low expectations from a lot of outside people. And that team is just going to play, and they're going to play their system. They're going to play with their superstar goalie, and it will result, I believe, in either a wild card. It might even be a third place finish, which I think it'll be. It'll be third place. But so they're thankful for also low expectations and all the pressure being on all the other teams that have made the big changes. So there you go. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, that is it. We're back next Monday, 5 to 6. A reminder, 2 weeks from tonight, no show. Yours truly will be at the hockey game, Leafs and Jets. So we will move 2 weeks from Tuesday. So 15 days from now.
Right. So we're not going to. So we're not going to miss a show in 1 week. We're just going to move it from Monday to Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, so the show next Monday as scheduled, and then the following Tuesday.
Right.
Yep. And then we should be Mondays pretty well the rest of the way.
Right. Sounds
good. Unless I get snapped up with some other commitment. This will be that here today. All right. On behalf of my show, my esteemed co-host, Rick Petty, I'm Michael Dale saying so long. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.